Well, hello and welcome to another Evolve Alliance Provider Member Showcase video. Today, I am interviewing Jon Shaw from Moneysoft. Jon, give me the one-liner about what Moneysoft does for financial advisors.
Hi, Sue. Thank you. The one-liner, really, Moneysoft's about closing the supply-demand gap or the advice gap for advisors. That's really what we focus on. So we can get into that in a little bit more detail as we go.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And it's around that cash flow management and behavioral finance, money coaching area.
That's right. So we came up with a concept very early on in the piece, which we kind of playfully called the adviceberg. And if you think of an iceberg, where the tip of the iceberg is sticking out of the water, that's traditionally where advisors have targeted that high net worth. The tip of the iceberg is someone with $500,000 plus of investable assets that will support the traditional business model. But underneath the surface, there's a huge chunk of that iceberg, which is the rest of Australia who want to get advice, but may not fit into that traditional target for the financial advice market. Now, I think everybody is coming to the realization that there is that huge gap between the demand for advice and supply of advice, and the ability for advisors to supply that advice at a reasonable cost.
Yes.
And actually, that's where the gap comes from. So the way to solve that really is technology. And yes, as you say, cash flow budgeting, goal tracking, those sorts of things. Now, it's not really about the features that are in the software. It's really about matching what a regular Australian does in their everyday lives with achieving financial well-being. And what an everyday Australian or just a normal person who's going about their everyday lives can understand is, how do I actually manage my household? I do that every day. I understand it. I probably don't understand investment products and all of that fancy stuff that my advisor can do, but I know what I can do on my side, which is manage my household properly and make sure I've got spare cash flow to invest and save.
Yeah.
And that's really where it's at for Moneysoft.
Fantastic. And look, we know that the evolution of the value propositions of advice, particularly in Australia and more globally as well, we have already moved well beyond that capture of FUM and we're here to be your investment advisor. And we're seeing more and more advisors really reaching out and delivering better advice to different styles of client avatars, the younger families, that people that really do have a need for support, but they may not necessarily have their nest egg built yet, and that's what the advisor's there to do. So your solution really helps advisors play in that space really well. Excellent. And we are going to drill into some detail today about exactly how you do that. But before we do that, I mean, we are thrilled to have you on board as a provider member. We were actually introduced to you. It's great. I know that you deliver great services to a lot of advisors around the country already. And particularly Steve Crawford made the introduction to you because I know that he uses you very a lot in his spending coaching services. So
he does. He uses us a lot, and he drives a lot of the features that we put in the software as well. And we love to do that with customers like Steve, where we get the feedback and we understand what their needs are to be able to service those kinds of markets, and that helps us actually develop the software as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to make that point.
It's great. Service providers that listen to their users and their advisors and respond in kind. We love that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, we love it as well. We love it as well.
Yeah. Before we dig into how you do it, why don't we start with a bit of a background then on you, Moneysoft? Where have you come from? Give us an understanding of the business.
Yeah. So, Moneysoft was actually originally founded by a fellow named Peter Malekis and his wife, Pam. Pete is an ex-accountant and financial advisor, and he saw he couldn't really identify it right at the time, but he saw the need to actually help his clients with cash flow so that they could actually execute some form of strategy in a consistent way. And he got frustrated with the fact that it was so difficult to get this information from Xplan. If I might as well say it, this is a very long time ago, and there were promises that some cash flow and budgeting software would be included in the platform. And look, in a nutshell, he got jack of waiting for it and decided to build it himself. So that's where Moneysoft originally started. That was in 2011. So Pete went and got a prototype done, and then I met Peter along with some other co-founders, David Mackay, who came from Commonwealth Financial Planning, Chris Clayton, who's out of Colonial First State at the time, and Ben Keeble, who founded Fort Street Advisors, which is now part of Evans Dixon. So those three and myself became co-founders along with Pete. We were sort of some of the original investors back in 2012. And we got the software, we put enough money in to get the software into a minimum viable product state. And we launched in 2014 commercially and started going out with software as a service.
It feels like you've been around for a long time.
2014. So, well, I mean, that's 7 years.
But, I mean, it is a long time, and it feels like, I don't know why.
Sure, it feels longer for me.
I bet it does. But it feels like your brand name has been in the market for a lot longer than that, which is testament to say that, you're spoken of really highly in lots of different places. So that's good. And so therefore, great pedigree from the people that have built it from the ground up.
Yes, so we launched commercially in 2014. I actually joined, I was with IBM before that. So I was a technologist in the mix, and I was, while I invested in Moneysoft, I was actually running international business development and sales for IBM for some of the very complex solutions, selling into telecommunications companies all around the world, and utilities companies in Korea and China and India and Eastern Europe and all over the place. So I joined in 2014 full time to help develop our sales channel and strategy and our go-to-market. So I sort of joined as COO, CTO, if you like. Pete was running the company, and we took it up to a point where we got investment from a couple of major investors, one being Windward Partners out of the US, and another one, Link Group, or Link Market Services, listed on the ASX. So Link is really our main investor now. So we've got some very solid backing, and that probably helped build that brand that you're talking about, Sue, which obviously allowed us to get some marketing and communications and brand development out there. And since then, we've really built up to attack two channels, or to service two channels, one being the independent financial advisor market and the other being the superannuation market, both of which need to provide forms of advice to their clients and members. So that's where we are.
That's great. So if we were to summarize the problems that you solve for advisors, let's stay focused on those advisors rather than the super members, for our sort of audience purposes. For those users, what are the problems you're solving?
Well, again, the main overriding problem is the advice gap, the supply demand gap between supply of advice and the demand for advice. So that's number one. And that really solving that, if we drill into that, that comes down to two main things. And that is efficiency of process and efficiency of communication, if you're going to solve those problems. Now, efficiency of process means doing fact finds faster, getting reports developed quicker, sending communications or sending those reports out to your clients, collecting data, tracking data, all of those sorts of things which may have previously been done through collecting data from over here and then putting it over there and doing it in spreadsheets and developing a report and working out cash flow. We automate all of that, as well as communications and reporting and collection as well. So there's a lot of process automation that's involved in Moneysoft and in the offerings that we give. That's not apparent to a lot of people just on the surface. When you look at Moneysoft, it's kind of hard to say that in a marketing sense, but most of our successful customers use those process automation aspects of Moneysoft. And then the efficiency of communication is around triage, being able to quickly understand what the next best action is for a client, helping a client understand where they came from and where they have gotten to at any point in time. And that feeds into communicating value of service to a client as well. So where did you start when you were here? And I've got all of that data at my fingertips on demand. And where did we get you to after a year, after 2 years, after 5 years? And where should you go next, right? So those are the sorts of things that we're solving and that Moneysoft can do for advisors, and that's what actually drives down the cost of advice.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, before we get into the nitty-gritty of how that happens, why don't we hear from one of the advisors that are using your services right now? We'll flick over to there. Wayne, you use Moneysoft in your business. Can we start with introducing yourself to everybody?
Yeah, Wayne Leggett's my name. Of course, you and I have known each other for a while, quite a while, more years than either of us will admit to, particularly in my case. You were a baby when I met you. Yes. My business, Paramount Wealth Management, or Paramount Financial Solutions, as is the trading name, is a general practice business. We have clients who basically our mantra is, if it's got a dollar sign on it, we can help you with it. So it's not so much your, if I can call it, the traditional advice business where it's either about investments and super and risk, although, as you know, we do a lot of that. But I worked out quite a while ago that the thing that people seemed to value the most was the stuff we weren't actually focusing on, and more importantly, at that stage, weren't getting paid for. So we started doing a lot of work in the budgeting and cash flow space. Gosh, it must be nearly 2 decades ago. And it was proving very popular initially. But where it fell down was it was all manual. And clients started with all the best enthusiasm in the world and kept all their records and their spreadsheets and were copying off their receipts and so on. But then the enthusiasm for doing that wanes after a while, and therefore it didn't last. So needless to say, when Moneysoft came across my bows, which I guess was about 5 years ago, it was actually introduced by our licensee, I went, hallelujah, this solves that one problem that seemed to exist in the past. And sure enough, what it does now is literally it takes all the client information, anything that is online with an account number that can be logged into, gets transferred into Moneysoft. So from the client's point of view, it's tracking everything without them having to do too much other than setting it up. But the real value from an advisor's perspective is that we're looking from the other side back at the exact same information that the client is. So in terms of our ability to help them, it's perfect.
Magic.
Yeah.
Have you managed to do any assessment of how much time this is saving you and your staff?
I haven't physically calculated it, but it's got to be hours per client. So in terms of what it would ultimately cost the clients or would eat into our profit margin, it's significant. The case in point is, and you'd be aware of this as a business coach, how much time an advisor spends at review asking clients for information that is needed to bring them up to date. The beauty of Moneysoft is that conversation doesn't occur.
So I'm imagining that your conversations are richer. They're more about, goals and what clients are wanting to achieve. Yeah,
exactly. You get to talk about the stuff they want to talk about instead of spending time asking them about hard facts that they could have given you before the meeting, obviously. But if you don't even have to get it off them and it's being fed to you automatically, how good's that?
Fantastic. And can I ask, do you use it with your new clients? So rather than sitting with a fact find and filling everything in, does it come to play there?
It's contributed to a complete change in how we go about things, because one of the biggest problems that advisors have in onboarding a new client is how much time you spend at your expense to get to a point of being able to prepare an advice document to then get paid. So what we're actually doing is putting a lot of time and effort and energy into the client, from which they benefit, but the traditional model didn't allow you to get paid for doing that. Well, we've changed that. Clients sign an ongoing service agreement from the get-go when they decide to engage. So the letter of engagement says your fee starting from now is X dollars per month, and they go, yep, okay. And then we say, and when we have prepared the statement of advice, this is what it will cost for the design and implementation of that. And they go, cool. Right. So they're actually paying you to get to the point of preparing the SOA.
Yeah, fantastic.
And of course, Moneysoft contributes to that, because as soon as they sign the letter of engagement, you can subscribe them to Moneysoft. And here comes all the information that you would have had to put into a fact find to then prepare an SOA.
Excellent. Excellent. So I'm seeing that clearly, from an efficiency perspective, ticks all the boxes, and from the client experience perspective, ticks lots of boxes too, because they really don't want to be sitting in front of you telling you information that in this day and age, they would expect that you could get electronically, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the best things about this is we have to collect so much information from the clients, but Moneysoft means that a lot of that information is fed to us automatically, and we don't have to then go through the process of asking the client for it. It's brilliant.
Fantastic. So I guess it's a bit of a dumb question, but would you recommend Moneysoft to other advisors?
Oh, without any shadow of doubt. For two reasons. One is that it makes the clients more engaged, because they know that you've got line of sight to their financial situation. But the greater benefit is of how much easier it makes the advisor's job. If you're working in this advice on cash flow space, it just makes it so much easier than trying to get the information manually and keep track of what the client's doing with it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Wayne.
You're welcome. Good to talk. Cheers, Sue.
Well, couldn't have said it better yourself, right? So,
Definitely.
Jon, why don't we dig now then into exactly how it works for advisors?
Yeah, sure.
Let's get into the detail.
Okay, so I mean, we're going back to those two main things that help advisors close the advice gap and supply advice at a more reasonable cost to feed that demand, or to supply that demand that we're seeing. Let's look at, first of all, efficiency of process. So the practical ways in which we help advisors improve their efficiency of process. One is fact find and integrations. So fact find on its own, digital fact find, there's many of those out there. We believe we have a unique form of fact find. It's probably up for the buyer to decide whether they like ours or not. But really, where the efficiency comes in there is being able to synchronize data into and out of that fact find. So we originally started with an integration to Xplan, where we could pre-fill a fact find if the client pre-existed in Xplan, and do a reverse fact find. And of course, we can send synchronized data across to Xplan from the Moneysoft fact find. Now, we've expanded that out to include Midwinter, Fin 365, Xeppo as well. And we've recently integrated into Retirement Essentials and into an administration platform as well. So we can pre-fill and synchronize data into all of these different systems, which again allows some huge gains in terms of efficiency of process.
Oh yeah, and accuracy
not
too.
Data, correct. And
yes, double data entry by a human is so yesterday, right?
Correct.
Now, the challenges that I think advisors see in this space, one which is really easy to counter straight away. I know that there are still advisors saying, but my client, I don't want to put up a barrier to entry for my clients. They don't want to get a link that they have to give information before they've even seen me. Now, I know from some of our clients and people I speak to all the time, that often is a barrier in the advisor's mind. And I think from the advisors that use this as part of their process, actually have it, it's almost like it's almost a confidence thing, right? I'm not going to take on any new clients unless they're prepared to put a little bit of time and effort into clicking a link and providing through a secure portal. So we'll talk about the security aspect, some answers to some of the questions so that I can be in a better place to actually make have a meaningful first conversation with them. Gone are the days where you sit there with a fact find in the meeting and just ask questions. Like most people as consumers, I think, I don't go to the doctor, a new doctor, and not expect that I'm going to have to fill in some preliminary information before I go. It's kind of that similar professional level. I'm guessing you see it all the time, and advisors don't have client problems.
We do. Yeah, and I guess what I would counter, or what I do counter to advisors when I hear that objection, is that, you know what the biggest barrier to entry is for a consumer getting advice is just filling out a 40-page paper form. That's about the biggest barrier you can put in front of someone, because it's very, very easy to say, forget it, it's too hard. Now, with the digital world, we can chunk that down into just do the first 2 pages, exactly like you said. Do the first 2 pages, and then I'll help you do the rest. But at least give me some idea that you're willing to move along that far before I waste my time going through this fact find with you when you're not actually serious about buying. So you've got to really look at it as a qualification step as well. And you can take tools like Moneysoft and other digital tools and use them for a little bit more innovative processes and methods in your sales cycle. Yeah,
that's right. And the reality is the fact that the client is completing that information allows them to go and gather the info rather than turn up to a meeting and then you're asking questions and they don't know how to find the information. So they feel more prepared and at ease coming into those conversations.
That's right. Yeah.
From the advisor's perspective, I mean, what makes your online fact find any different to others? Is there a user experience that you've gone through? Can advisors actually give you their form and you digitize it? How does that practically work?
Well, very good question. Yes, we do digitize AFSL approved fact finds, and we turn it into, we put it in Moneysoft, basically. We've done that for several AFSLs now, Count Financial, Lifespan, Fortnum, and there's a couple others, sorry, they escaped me, but
that's okay.
We've done that for several now. Link Advice is one of them as well. And I think the other part of it too goes back to what you were saying before, in that we do not have a sequential model in our fact find. We actually allow advisors to deliver the fact find to their clients in chunks and actually break that fact find process down into a number of steps. So start with the first 2 modules and just tell me a little bit about yourself. Okay, now the next 2 steps, depending on which stream you could go into, we're sort of talking about maybe a larger process here, rather than it just being a single sequential stream. There could be, okay, well, if you're going to general advice, you go over here. If you're insurance, you go here. And if you're comprehensive, you go over here. And that means different modules within the fact find. But you want to break those barriers down for the client so that they don't have to do too much of the work. And the advisor can say, here's the one I'm going to get you to do as the client. Here's the ones I'm going to do for you as part of my service. So we actually really allow a lot of workflow and modularization of the fact find, rather than being a standard sequential fact find that you generally see.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and often I know some firms will have a mini fact find, if you like, that just gets the high level before you go into more detail.
Correct.
But with yours, you're saying it's not that you're ever going to ask the same questions again, because I'm guessing if you've already captured the answer to a question,
already captured in the system, and you can break it into a mini fact find and then a middle fact find and a big fact find, however you want to do it. So it's built to fit your process.
Yeah, some of them you will want to have the conversation with them. I mean, I think it's helpful for clients perhaps to go away and think more deeply about some of their goals, but that's probably not something you just want them to put in, because often they haven't even gone that far until they've had a proper conversation with someone to flesh it out and get them on the same page. Is an example.
That's true, but it's different for each business. And again, that's a unique part of our fact find, which is one piece of the PFM platform. And I'd like to get into some of the other aspects. Absolutely. But we do add custom modules to the fact find, and we allow advisors to put in any pieces that they like in there. It's pretty reasonably priced. We charge $100 per month for a custom fact find.
And so not based on how many users, just the practice pays a set fee, and then it's there, and then you've got the data fed into your system.
That's right. So that includes your integrations, and there is a usage fee on top. It's nominal, but $100 per month for a fully customized fact find would change your modules for you, would break up the workflow, all those. So it's very, very affordable in terms of entry costs to get that digital fact find going.
Awesome. Just one last question on that, because I know that's only one of the many pieces of the puzzle that Moneysoft helps with, but just to close off that fact find piece, can it pull data from clients' bank statements or online logins?
Yes. So I suppose that's actually a point I wanted to make earlier, which is, another unique thing about Moneysoft Fact Find is it is integrated with the personal financial management platform. It's actually part of the personal financial management platform. So you can progress a client from Fact Find into goal tracking and cash flow and budgeting all in a single portal. It's not separate tools. It's already fully integrated. So
sorry,
of course
personal
we cross-pollinate that.
financial, right. So personal financial management, that's another one of your
That is the product. So personal financial management encapsulates Fact Find, cash flow budgeting, goal tracking and reporting. It's got all of those pieces in it.
I get it.
But generally when people talk about personal financial management, they'll be looking at the cash flow and budgeting aspect, but we just call it PFM, and it's got all of that stuff in there. Right. And it's really up to our customers to decide which bits they want to use for which clients, and there's complete flexibility there. But to answer your specific question, yes, we do use automated data feeds as part of the Fact Find in terms of gathering assets and liabilities, or getting the balance sheet and getting income and expenses. Yeah, so we use those aspects of traditional PFM as part of the Fact Find. Yeah.
So that's something that I know is a massive challenge to a lot of advisors, because I mean, there's of course the new client, but most firms will have a substantial number of existing clients, and quite often our coaches will be talking to them about how they conduct their client reviews. We know the cost of advice keeps going up, and yes, there's we're wanting to keep that down, but also the client experience. And ideally, the best reviews, and even though I hate the term client review because it indicates that it's backwards looking, whereas we're always advocating that those ongoing planning meetings should be about forward looking. But a big part of it is actually the best ones we see are where they have updated information from the client on all of the holdings. So typically they would see their super funds, any of the assets the advisor manages, they're going to have updated feeds from their platforms or whatever, but there'll always be the salary, the debt levels, the other assets that sit outside of that. And if the client walks into the review without having any of that pre-populated or updated beforehand, it's a much less meaningful conversation in that meeting. And then typically for the advisor, a lot more work afterwards to then formulate any advice or create reports or whatever. So
100%
in that instance, so how does it actually work? Like if I'm the client, am I giving you my internet banking password, or how does it?
No, you're not. You enter that into the system. It's fully encrypted and secure. It's actually stored by a company called a data aggregator, very similar to a mortgage broking process. And in fact, all the mortgage brokers use exactly the same systems as Moneysoft uses in terms of their data aggregation. So the data aggregation provider stores the password. No one ever sees these. They're encrypted. They're, non-fungible, whatever you want to call it, whatever you understand, but they're not human readable. Let's put it that way.
And when your system asks the client for it, does it explain all of that really clearly to the client?
It does. It explains that. We allow configuration on top if people want to actually add additional explanation for their clients. For the instance of Moneysoft, there can be additional text and explanations and warnings and whatever you like, or materials in there. And so that data collection that you're talking about, that's absolutely right. And this is something that probably will come later on in the conversation as well. But quite often advisors will see a cash flow and budgeting tool and say, oh, that's a lot of work to have a look at expenses and income and that sort of thing. But that's not where the main value is. And that's not where most of our customers will use it. It is exactly where you said, and it's actually having that data and information to hand. Now, your client will get value out of the fact that they can manage their household with this client portal, but you don't need to do that for them. You don't need to manage their household for them. And certainly, as a user of the software, certainly I would be shying away from that. But having that information to your hand so that you can make informed decisions and you know exactly where the client is at any single point in time is extremely valuable to an advisor.
Yeah, most definitely. So what can it pull from? So internet banking.
We pull from, anything you can think of. So pretty much anything that you can access online, we get data from.
So credit cards, bank statements,
credit cards, bank,
industry funds,
credit card, bank account or cash accounts, loans, mortgages, industry super funds, share trading platforms, ComSec, ANZ share trading, leveraged loans even. So you leverage investment accounts, your retail superannuation funds and managed investment funds, share registries, link market services, computer share, boardroom, they're all there.
Brilliant. Yeah. Okay. And if it's an ongoing client, is it once they've put their passwords in, is it a constant feed so it's always up to date, or do they have to re-enter their passwords every time?
It's a constant feed. So that's certainly in the utopia world. Now, sometimes things break and they might need to re-enter their password, but that's a rare occurrence. But yes, it is a passive collection of data. So once they've done it once, that data will come through and that will be available for the advisor to use.
Awesome.
Or the professional coach to utilize. Yeah.
Now, this is so exciting. And as the advisor, you get excited about the opportunities this creates. I have heard of advisors in the past that have tried to use systems and tried to get their clients to put their passwords in, and their clients haven't wanted to do it. So some will say clients won't do it. You've got evidence to the contrary.
Well, we've got plenty of evidence to the contrary, thousands and thousands of instances of evidence to the contrary. And it really comes down to the most successful users of software like Moneysoft are the ones who simply make it a part of their service and a part of their process. You do this, if you want me to help you, you want our services and you want our advice, this is what you do. Yeah. And you make it a rule. Just like,
and I think it's the way that they, and the way that they position it to show that the client can have confidence if there's any fears around it, and they talk about the benefits to the client. It's not just that it's going to help me. This is part of our service to you that you can get a handle on your household and That's right. And I think some of those issues with clients are, you're probably talking 4 or 5 years ago where security was more of a concern then. Now it is really becoming pretty much expected product and expected capability for most of the consumer market. I mean, people understand generally how these sorts of things work. Certainly younger generations, from, I would say from my age and younger, and perhaps even 50 years old and younger, really expect to have information and data at their fingertips. That's right. And this is how you do it to get your data. I don't want to have to muck around with pulling statements and giving you things and doing things by hand. I just expect it to be there. Yeah. If you want it to be there, here's how you do it. And most people are okay with that. I think you're right, definitely. And so what are the other elements of the platform that assist advisors?
So, so look, on that ongoing data collection was obviously one of those pieces. Now that we do have feeds into the portfolio management systems of those integrated platforms as well. So we can feed data into Xplan IPS and for the equivalent module within Midwinter and some of the other platforms, and Xeppo as well. So you've got not only your fact find data integration, collection and feeds and synchronization, you've got your portfolio piece as well, and that includes properties and property valuations and the whole shebang, right? So
where do you pull the property valuations from?
We get that from Domain.
Okay, brilliant.
Domain.
So
report automation is another one too. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to clarify that. So yes, pretty much every asset the client might own, other than unlisted or artworks that their friend did. You're getting feeds and it brings it to life and the client can see the ongoing value. Brilliant.
We'll pull that in, yes. And look, even for some clients who might be a little bit wary of entering usernames and passwords, we have full manual data upload. They can take CSVs and upload it in there and create and do all the operations that you would do with a live data feed. So we've pretty much got everyone covered, right? And
great.
Where your preferences are and your risk tolerance is, or your security tolerance or privacy tolerance or whatever you want, however you want to cut that one. So that ongoing data collection and integration as well. Then there's report automation around goal reporting and tracking and progress reports, as well as other types of reports. So we implement a lot of custom reports for our clients. We have a very big customer up in Queensland who provide a lot of advice around leverage into property and shares. and they actually have a process that they go through in terms of wealth creation. They have a set process. There's a lot of reporting around that. It's quite complicated. We've created an automated reporting system for them that they can send those reports out to their clients on a monthly basis. There's 650 clients, I think, in Moneysoft. Under this one customer, they send automated reports out to them. Now, imagine creating those reports manually.
Oh my Lord.
So the data's up to date.
I did a little...
That's right. So they used to do that. And since they now use Moneysoft,
that would be probably
cut
hundreds
about
of thousands of dollars that you'd
of their costs.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what an incredibly powerful outcome for the client. So I'm guessing that sounds like a debt recycling kind of strategy.
It's close to that. Yeah.
Wow.
Close to that. It's a little bit different. They actually are a bit more sophisticated than the straight debt recycling, but that's part of it for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
So the report is quite complicated. So we do put custom reports in, and then we have batch delivery of those reports, monthly, quarterly, yearly, annually, whatever you like. So that automation aspect is a very big part of how our customers get value out of money.
Yeah, fantastic.
A lot of configurations. I mean, even in that particular case, the customer only likes to report on certain chart of accounts or certain categories, right, in terms of income and expenditure. So we place category mappings in there, and there's automated rule sets that categorize all of the transactions that come in automatically. They don't have to do a lot of work for these reports to pop out, automatically. So there's a lot of automation in there that you can give them.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure that they've cross-checked it and they're happy with the quality of it. Once it's mapped once, it's done well, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Look, it takes, we worked with this particular customer, I would say, for 6 to 9 months to really get the system bedded down and working beautifully. I mean, we hardly ever hear from them anymore, but we do take a lot of pride in that, and we provide a lot of account management to make sure that we get these automations working well for our customers, and we take that very seriously. And it takes a bit of effort from both sides to get it really humming along, but once it is, I mean, the benefits are huge. They can now put new clients onto the platform, without any trouble, and they get this benefit straight out of the.
So no need to keep reinventing that wheel every time. Absolutely. The key is scalability, right? Build your process, build your offering, do it once, do it well, and then hit the button each time you get a new client. That's the best way to do it. And so on that point, before we go to the other features and outcomes for advisors, I want to just touch on that a little bit, because I think one of the problems advisors have with using technology solutions is that in most advice firms, they have experts in financial advice and experts in client service, but they're not technology experts. So I've heard so many complaints from different tech providers, from the advisors saying, well, sure, it sounds all good, but we just couldn't make it work for us. There wasn't enough support provided by the technology provider for us to help, get the old Formula One race car out of the pits. We didn't know how to do it. So talk just a little bit maybe around that, like who have you got on the team? How do you help advisors? Yeah,
look, that is an excellent point. It's an excellent point. And if I'm frank, we love working with advice firms that have some technology expertise in their company. In that particular example I gave you, they do have some tech expertise, and I would encourage advice practices to get some. Even if it's not a full-time employee, get a contractor or an external advisor that you trust and who can advise you on how to use these things. It is actually very, very important if you want to make these things work. Now, you can come to Moneysoft, and we will provide consultancy and services. We're actually helping a couple of customers right now, just in terms of they've got some great ideas about systems that they want to build, and we're actually helping them design those systems and put them together. Now, whether they come to us and get them built or they go somewhere else, we don't mind, but we have recognised that those services are required, and we do like to help our customers do that.
So that is a service proposition you're happy to deliver, because I reckon there'll be a whole bunch of people that go, oh, I want.
To an extent, yes. I mean, we won't say we can provide it if we can't if we can't fulfill it, we've obviously got constraints around the amount that we can do. But we do recognise that is needed by our customers. Now, again, I would strongly recommend. I don't particularly want to take that services business, right? But we provide it because it's needed. We provide it because it's needed. That is absolute truth.
Agree. And I would say, as from a coach's perspective, whenever we are helping one of our clients to implement something like this, we're always encouraging them to ensure that there is at least a champion in-house in the business. Don't try to manage it by committee. You need someone that's at least got some level of knowledge of both technology and what you're trying to achieve and how you serve your clients. And that's the champion that drives it and runs it with it and works with the service providers. Yeah, great.
Correct. So, look, find a propeller head that can help you and that you can trust, and throw a couple of little projects at them and see what they can do. But I would strongly recommend every advice practice needs a technology advisor of some form, whether they're on your board, whether they're in your business, whether they're an external consultant, but someone at some level that you trust to give you some good advice.
Quite timely, actually, because we are exploring that at the moment. The GSD Lab is one of our provider members. It's actually an offshoot of Elixir. That is people that come in and help implement projects in practice management. We're also specifically looking at a couple of providers at the moment who have financial advice related technology expertise, the propeller heads, as you say. So if you are an Evolve Alliance member listening to this right now, jump in and have a look at the other provider members, because odds are by now we'll have a couple that we can endorse. We're looking for some people that have got some runs on the ground and quality experience.
Yeah,
anyway.
Excellent. It's hugely important, and I back that to the hilt. It really is required. And I would say, even Sue, on the technology strategy side, so even just having a look at a technology roadmap, here's where we are, and here's what our level of capability and maturity is, and here's where we want to get to. How do we close that gap, right? And that's really a great place to start.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, so back to Moneysoft. So we've talked about the fact find, talked about the ongoing data upkeep.
Yes, so and then we're talking about. I mentioned efficiency of communication as being a major piece of being able to close that advice gap. So you can't really have face-to-face conversations with 5,000 clients, right? No. As a single advisor, but you might be able to service 5,000 clients as a single advisor if your communications are done either on a mass scale, or they're batched through reports, or you've got automated emails and comms that are personalized, but they're being sent out of an automated platform. Now, Moneysoft can do a fair chunk of that, and we can also trigger other communications platforms to do that for you, right, via email integrations or notification style integrations. And even visual communication is a very important aspect. So clients just having that portal on demand that they can get into and say, what have I got to do? One of the upcoming things that we've got slated for the platform is a task list, but we already have customers that use Moneysoft with notes against transactions and custom alerts and that kind of thing to actually communicate with their client. You don't have to be there right at the time that your client is to get that communication across to them and give it to them in context, because you can be given in context inside the portal itself. So that efficiency of communication is actually a really important part of the puzzle, and it's something that we're going to develop out further as part of our ongoing roadmap as well.
Excellent. And that is, I guess, opening up to the next element of it, which is that ability to provide cash flow and or spending coaching. So we referred to Steve earlier. He has the spending coach where he does it for clients directly, but he also teaches advisors how to implement this. And I remember him distinctly, he used to use a different offering. And I remember when he shifted over to Moneysoft, and one of the benefits that he really enjoyed was the fact that it talks clients' language. It doesn't talk about a balance sheet. It doesn't use business related terminology to manage your household finances. It talks people's language. So how, if an advisor was looking at giving more of that hands-on spending coaching style of service, what are the features of Moneysoft? How do they use Moneysoft to do that? I guess just high level.
Well, before we get into how you use Moneysoft to do it, it's important that you design your process first. And that would be the number one thing I'd say. Come to Moneysoft and say, here's the process that I want to run with my clients. Put this in place for us, Moneysoft. And we'll say, right, we'll do it. So that's how you use Moneysoft, is you design your process and then you say, hey, Moneysoft, automate this process for us.
And so what's possible? What sort of things can they do?
They can have an automated onboarding process. They can have automated data collection. They can have automated categorization of that data into certain categories and types and views. They can have automation of report creation, goal tracking, and of course all your batch communications that go out as well. Even timed emails. Right? So there's a whole raft. You know, if you just think of from the point of getting a customer interested, to them taking action, to then my ongoing service that I'm going to provide them, if you actually chunk it down into those three things and say, here's how I want those things to happen in terms of an automated, digitized process, give that to us, we'll automate it for you.
Brilliant. And in terms of the actual creation of a budget in the first place?
Again, that's out of the box automatic. So
right.
once we've got the data in, so the first thing, just if you look at the standard out of the box Moneysoft process, we take them through, we take the users through a couple of steps, and then one of the first steps is link your financial accounts and your super funds and loans and credit cards and all that sort of thing. We pull all of that data in, and from that data, we automatically categorize it and automatically create a budget from the past history view that we get. We get 3 months of past history view, and we just auto create the budget.
So it's not, so dear, how much do we spend on alcohol? Let's pretend it's actually giving them real life. This is what you spent. It's
there. That's right. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. One of the toughest things too that we found early on was actually dealing with intra-household transfers, or transfers between accounts of the household.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm going to take some money out of my cash account and pay this loan, and oh crap, I haven't got enough, so I'm going to have to borrow some out of the loan and pay the bill, and all those sorts of transfers that go on, or maybe even a transfer out of a business account to do this over here, or a transfer back in. All of those transfers are really where the noise comes from when you're doing cash flow analysis.
Yeah.
Again, Moneysoft, we recognize that very early on, and we have built a transfer finder and reconciliation process that's automated inside the software. So we've gotten it quite accurate. So you can, the first thing you really want to see is what comes in and what goes out and what's left. Right? Where you spend it, whether it's on alcohol, shoes, clothes, TAB, food, kids, whatever, that doesn't matter so much. That's going to help you improve it. But the first thing you want to see is how much comes in and how much goes out, right? What are we working with here? And we can pull that number fairly accurately straight up.
That is so good, because from a compliance perspective, it's understanding the client, and it's just not good enough anymore to rely on that. How much do you think your household spends? Oh, right. About this much. How much do you want to spend in retirement? Oh, I don't know. It's just not good enough anymore. You've got to be able to be a lot more accurate around that to give good quality advice. Hey,
that's right.
That's exciting.
So all of those key figures will come out of Moneysoft automatically. And then it comes down to, back to your original question, which is someone wants to run a cash flow coaching or a money coaching style service. The first thing you have to do, Moneysoft's not going to just do that for you. You need to decide how you want to run that in your business, and then we will automate it for you. But certainly don't expect a piece of software to solve that problem for you. You need to work out what your business process is first.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I would say, and because we, again, as coaches, we do this all the time with our firms to say we could do this a lot better. Many people would prefer to eat their foot than to sit down and go to that granular level of detail. Well, if the client clicks here, then what can we automate? What can we send? What can we create that then ties them in? But it's so powerful to do it, because you do it once, you map out what you want to be doing differently to what you're doing now, and then find ways to implement that. And as I say, always keeping that thing in the back of your mind around scale. How can I do this at mass? And it might not be that a firm's wanting to get 5,000 clients, but even some firms, if they're wanting to bring on 20 new clients, or if they want to lift the number of clients served per advisor from 100 to 150, or 150 to 200, building out these things and building them well so that you can repeat them through the use of technology is so critical.
Yeah. And look, that finer detail, so I wouldn't even say that most businesses need to go down to that level. It's really around the client interaction and the servicing process. You know, you don't need to worry about how the software is going to do it or what happens in the software. We'll work that out. That's right.
So just figure out what you want to deliver.
What am I going to prove? Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. And you'd be surprised, you know, certainly how many people come and say, oh, well, Moneysoft, the software will solve that for me. It won't. You need to actually look at that business process and the client servicing process. Don't worry about the technology side. We'll do that. But the business process and the client servicing process, have that clear. And then we've got
and this is where I think, and these conversations are so powerful for that, because sometimes advisors don't know what they don't know. They've been using a certain way for however long, and they're not even aware that there's different opportunities, different ways. So a great way to think about it is, how do we do it now? What are the things we've always wished we could do differently? Where are the pain points in our process? Where are the bits that our clients back out because it's all too hard for them? Define what you want to be doing differently, and then find the provider that can actually solve for that, which is fantastic. Yeah,
that's right. So, and I think that's where Elixir Consulting may come into play. And I would strongly advocate that advisors do that. You know, go and engage a consultant to help you with that process. Yeah, it's hard, right? That's why there's experts out there that help you do it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that.
But you have to do the hard stuff to transform your business.
If it were easy, everybody would be doing it, right? And we wouldn't have these challenges in advice. Exactly. Yeah. So one thing that is coming up for me is, I know, like we did speak before about, this is such a great way to fill that advice gap, that there are so many more people than just the retiree with their lump of money already. So it's a great way to serve. But there's actually, I think some advisors think that it's only really cash flow and goal tracking is for those younger, the XY clients, or heaven help us, the millennials. It's not actually, is it? What are the kind of demographics that you're finding?
Look, it's across the board. I was at a conference once, and Moneysoft was explained, I think it was a Millennium 3 or RO advice, I can't remember. But Moneysoft was explained to the audience, and that question was asked. So who do you think this software is? It was the best answer I ever heard. Who do you think this software is for? And one lady put her hand up in the crowd and she said, anyone who's got a pulse. and it's really true. It's pretty much anyone who has an income. And I think the best example of that is a retiree. Now, who needs to manage their cash flow more than a retiree, right? Who's no longer
getting
working
anymore.
Right. So it's not just accumulators, and it's not just pre-retirees. It's really across the board. There's always a need for you to understand what's coming in and what's going out at some level.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's so much beautiful automation. Is this actually something that you take direct to the consumer market as well? Or are you planning to?
We do have a consumer offering. We don't really advertise that. However, we do realise that we get a lot of traffic to our website, and we get a lot of demand for this type of tool from consumers. But our main goal is to service the advice market. We want to help advisors help those people improve their position and generate wealth and expand the industry. Really is what that is honestly what we're trying to do. So yes, we do have plans to go to the consumer market, but it will be, and it is planned to be, in the sense that we will actually capture those consumers and then drive them into our own advisor network. So we've actually got plans for Moneysoft certified advisors and Moneysoft certified partners, so that when we get those consumer users onto the platform, there will be quite a lot of communications going to them saying, hey, do you want to talk to an advisor? here's the Moneysoft certified network of advisors. You should transfer your system over to them. So we really want to generate business for our customers.
And I think we all know that, yes, there's only a certain level of outcome that can be achieved just by using the tool. It's the behavioural support, it's the decision-making support and advice strategies that are going to really make that difference.
We've done some analysis, and I've spoken to founders of other groups, and what they find is on those consumer tools, the drop-off is somewhere between 3 and 6 months. And we found that on our own platform as well. Okay. So unless you can actually get that consumer user into someone who's going to help them, 90% of them are gone.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're going to try to do. And we want to work out how to do it so we can tell other people how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's really the aim of our consumer approach.
That's great. That's great. Okay. Now, I know that we touched on price a little bit around the fact-finding module, but can you talk us through how much Moneysoft costs?
Yeah. So our entry point is $200 per month for access to the software.
Per practice or per advisor?
Per practice. Per practice.
Okay.
That is a Moneysoft subscription. That gets you the equivalent value of users. Now, we have different prices for different user types. A basic fact-find user is $1 per month.
Right.
An automated fact-find user, which includes auto data feeds and integrations into all the other systems, starts at $6 per month. Well, that's your top line price, is $6 per month. Then we have net wealth tracking, which includes fact-find, is $10 per month.
So net wealth tracking of the household, not the other brand name.
Net wealth tracking. So we call it Wealth Track, that one, which is really net wealth tracking. That's $10. And then the full shebang, Cashflow Pro, which includes everything from wealth tracking and includes all of your auto fact-find capabilities, the whole lot. That's $20 per month.
$20 per month per client.
Per client, that's right. So our customers can mix and match all of those different client types in a single Moneysoft subscription. You can decide what type of client they are. Are they just on basic fact find? Are they in Wealth Track? Are they on Cashflow Pro? So depending on the service you're providing to them and what you want the software for, you decide what the client type is. It's totally up to you.
Okay.
You get $200 worth of clients as part of your subscription. So until all of the clients in your system go over $200 per month, you don't pay another dollar. And all of that value is in there for you to use. And then you really only pay for what you use as you go on top.
Okay. So it's really like a minimum level. And then once you start using above that makes sense. Okay.
That's right.
And do you see advisors? So for those who might utilize this as a service offering that's not connected to a full advice offering, like you said before, if you wanted to service 5,000 clients, that way you could. The advisors charge a margin on that, even if it's a hands-off.
Many do. It depends. It's sort of there's two models. The advisors that use the software as an integral part of their service will just charge a service fee, and then they pay for the cost of software as part of that. And then there are some who are also extremely successful who wrap Moneysoft and they sort of say, well, you get this software as part of this service, and that costs, cost plus. It's a cost plus model, if you like. And they're usually the ones that are sort of charging maybe $50 or $80 a month for Moneysoft plus some coaching. And the others are an annual service fee, and Moneysoft is sort of part of that. So that's generally the two pricing models that we see. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I just want to mention as well, we've got volume discounts. So we actually very quickly provide volume discounts. So I think at the point at which your subscription hits $325 per month, we apply a 5% discount. And when it hits $500 per month, there's a 10% discount across the board. So we actually kick in some discounts up to 20% discounts fairly quickly as part of those subscriptions. So as your usage goes up, we bring your price down.
Fantastic. And I believe you have provided a special offer for our Evolve Alliance members as well.
Yep. So we are going to offer the Evolve Alliance members top line discount straight off the bat for 1 year. So we're offering 20% discount straight up for first year of subscription.
Awesome. And then, of course, by the time you've been using it for a year, you'll have so many clients on it, you'll be earning that discount anyway.
That's what the aim would be, So use the discount to get your client usage up, and then discount will kick in naturally anyway. That's right.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you for that. We appreciate that that offer that you provide. Now, I don't think we've clarified this, but I'm quite sure that when advisors start using Moneysoft, they skin it, they put their branding on it, their logo, their company name. Is it joint branded, or does it look specifically like it's Bob's Financial Planning Company?
It looks like it's a fairly good white label. Really, where the co-branding happens is with things like copyright at the bottom of emails and support contacts and FAQs and that kind of thing. So we're not really out there to tell people that this is Moneysoft. We want it to look like it's the advisor's software and it's being provided by the advisor. So that standard branding or that standard white labeling comes as part of the $200 per month minimum access fee. You get all of that with it as part of the fee. If you want to do a more sophisticated white label, we have options for that as well, which is best to talk to your account manager about in terms of exactly what you want to do. But there's add-on part numbers and pricing for taking it up to the next level of, a full private label, if you like.
Great. Okay. So what, at this point, I think we've covered everything off pretty well. I absolutely encourage people to jump on your website. I know you've got some fantastic videos on there that sort of demonstrate the usage of it really well. If an advisor's sort of thinking maybe they don't know how they could use Moneysoft, or maybe they're thinking they haven't got enough clients to justify a subscription, how would you look after people like that?
Well, I think it's quite an easy answer in that we have a no obligation free trial. Just get on and use it and have a look at it and start to get some ideas. Now, whether you take up a subscription at the end of that trial or not is okay, but at least make a start and have a look, and you can talk to our account manager during that trial. We actually give full service during the free trial. The only limit we have on it is you can't come back for 3 months. So you can have a look at it now, and if you finish your trial and don't decide to buy, you can do another trial in 3 months' time. That's okay. We don't mind. All good. We'll give you full service, full support. You get 10 clients included as part of that trial. You can really put it through the ringer. And that's the best way to learn it. And I think that just comes down to committing some time. So commit 4 to 8 hours over your 30-day free trial, and you'll actually get a very good understanding of what the software can do for you and how it could fit into your business, and we'll help you.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great. Well, hey, Jon, thank you for providing such a great service to financial advisors and the people that they serve. It's been great to talk to you today and understand a little bit more. For those who do want to explore more, of course, all of the links are in the notes that are together with this recording. And we would love to hear from people too as they start using Moneysoft and seeing the benefits it's generating for their firm. Jon, once again, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it.
Cheers.